Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I did this the last service. I'm going to do it again. Let's shake off that frost one more time. Good morning, y'all.
Good morning.
Cool. I am Ro Kelly. My pronouns are she, they, and along with Reverend Krista Taves, I welcome you to Eliot Chapel on this fine January morning. Joining us is our welcome person, Sue Luneman, and she is here for our guests. And we also have Carl Serbell, might be in Adams Hall. Where is he? Oh, Carl, awesome. And he is our Sunday pastoral care person. Please see Carl if there is anything that is weighing on your heart. And if you have young children staying with you in service today, please know that you're welcome to head over to Adams Hall if they get restless. We do have an live stream of the service over there, so you're welcome to watch over there if that suits y'all's needs a little bit better. And we also will have chili and games going on after service today, so stick around for that. But now I invite all of you, as you wish, to join in our welcome today by responding with "You are welcome here" at the end of each of these statements. If you are Black, brown, white, indigenous, Asian Pacific Islander, whatever your origins, you are welcome here. If you believe in God all of the time, some of the time, or none of the time, you are welcome here. If you have a disability, visible or invisible, or if you are neurodiverse, you are welcome here. No matter whom you love or what your gender identity, you are welcome here. If you want for nothing, or if you struggle each day just to make it through, you are welcome here. If you have been here 100 times or you just came for the first time today, you are welcome here. For this is a community of diversity, of love, and of justice, and it is good to be together. Let us now enter into the spirit of worship.
Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing's
The flaming chalice is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, with the bowl representing our beloved community and the flame representing the spark of the divine that burns in each of us. Our chalice lighting words this morning come to us from Victor Laval and John Joseph Adams, the editors of the speculative fiction anthology, The People's Future of the United States. We are seeking stories that explore new forms of freedom, love, and justice, narratives that release us from the chokehold of the history and mythology of the past, stories that give us new futures to believe in. Please rise in body or in spirit for our opening hymn, I'm Gonna Lift My Sister Up, and then remain standing for our congregational covenant.
Service, I tried to teach this song by rote, but then I sang it once and everybody was like, we got it, so I'm gonna sing it once for you. And if you decide to get it, then we'll just go forth with it. But if not, I'll teach it to you, okay? The song goes like this. Also, only one word changes every time that we repeat it. It goes sister, brother, siblings, and then neighbors. It goes like this. Ready? 1, 2, ready, and I'm gonna lift my sister up. She is not heavy. I'm gonna lift my sister up. She is not heavy.
In Unitarian Universalism, covenants are the agreements that we make for who we want to be as a people. Please join me in reading our congregational covenant, which is printed in your order of service and projected on the screen. As a free congregation, we promise to one another our mutual trust and support. To create beloved community, we promise to be kinder to each other than we have to be, to listen fully to each other with an open mind and heart, to speak responsibly and respectfully, and to find ways to improve our church for all members and friends. Please be seated.
Good morning. Today we are going to commission some very important volunteers in this congregation. We're going to commission our new pastoral care associates. We're going to commission our welcome team members, and we're going to commission our readers. And all three of these groups do very, very important things that create this beloved community. Our pastoral care associates are here for you. If things are getting difficult, to hold and to carry, we have people that you can speak to who are trained, lay leaders who are trained by myself and Reverend D to be there for you. Those are our pastoral care associates. And they're so important, we even have someone on Sunday mornings, in case you come in the morning and you're feeling heavy and you really just need someone to hear you. We're also going to recognize our greeters. Our greeters are responsible for ensuring that when you enter Eliot Chapel, you are greeted with a smile, that someone says hello to you, wishes you a good day, gives you your order of service, and invites you to come back, and a whole lot of other things that we don't even see. All to ensure that this is a warm and welcoming space for everyone who enters these doors. And then we have our welcome team members, and their ministry is for those of us who are our guests. If you are our guests, these people are here for you to help ensure that you receive a special welcome. They are there for any questions you may have or thoughts you may have about what you've experienced here, and they're here to help you test this place out to see if this might be your spiritual home. And so with that, I'd like to invite our greeters and our welcome team members and our pastoral care associates to come forward. And one member of each group is going to share very briefly why this ministry is so very special for them. Please come forward. And those of you who are speaking will use the middle mic. All right, let's begin with our pastoral care associate, Carl. What is so special about this ministry for you?
Good morning, friends.
Good morning.
Yvonne and I came to Eliot 8 years ago. We feel very much at home here. I'm so grateful for the welcome that this congregation has given us. And about 3 years ago, I realized I needed to listen more deeply. And that's what pastoral care is all about. For us, it's listening. It's essentially that, being present. And it's a very important part of my life. And I share that with 9 other wonderful folks here. And I'm very proud that we're able to be there for our congregation.
Thank you, Carl. CJ is going to speak from the perspective of a greeter. Why is this such a special ministry for you to be part of?
I was not originally a Unitarian. I grew up as a child as a Methodist, but I discovered the Unitarian Church, and I lived in Illinois and Ohio, and then I moved to St. Louis. And my church in Bloomington, Illinois, I tried First Church and didn't fit. Anyway, I came here, and I felt very welcome from the beginning. And I realized that If I were a greeter as a new person here, I could make friends and connect with the community in a much faster way. Because that's part of our job. And it's been amazing. I did it for a while, then I stopped, and now I'm back. And I love it, and I love all the friends I make. And we've now recently had one of our RE students reach out and ask to greet with me at a service. And so we are starting a child greeter program because sooner they're aware of the importance of meeting the new people and helping them learn their way around Eliot Chapel. The more everybody will gain.
Thank you, CJ. And from the greeter team and from the welcome team, we have Tanya. Please come forward.
Right before COVID, we were starting to come, I was starting to come more regularly.
We need to get a little closer to the mic so we can.
And then COVID hit, of course. So right before COVID, I was starting to come, and then COVID hit, of course. And afterwards, seeing what happened to our congregation and everything I went through, I felt very passionately about being able to help our congregation continue to thrive. As part of the welcome team, making sure that people felt welcomed and could be a part of this community, following up with them. It's kind of cool to look out and see some people who have really become part of that in the past 2 years that I've really been a part of that. Reverend Aaron, I remember when you guys started. And that's really why I'm doing it, to help make sure Eliot can stay alive and a thriving community for years to come.
All right, thank you. Now we're going to commission you. So I would invite our board member to go to the microphone and Reverend D to join us. Okay, I'm going to start. I'm just not in my right place. There we go. Well, we'll start with our pastoral care associates. We commission you as pastoral care associates of this congregation. We are so grateful for your willingness to serve in this special role.
We place our trust in you, asking you to sit with us in our pain and celebrate with us in our joy. We ask you to be our spiritual companions, witnesses of our lives past.
I charge you as members of the pastoral care team to listen with compassion to your fellow congregants, to care for yourselves and one another, to tend to the sacred in your encounters, to ask for help when you need it. May you know that your care is powerful. May you know that I am here to guide and support you, and may you know that you are enough.
We commission you as greeters for all who enter our doors, coming and seeking to be or who are already part of our community. We are grateful for your service.
We place our trust in you, asking you to cherish in your hearts the needs of those that come to us, to our doors. We ask you to meet them in all their uncertainty and their seeking, and invite them into this place where they can come as they are.
I charge you, as members of the greeters, to be warm and accepting to everyone who enters, and to support one another in your calling as a greeter, and to seek the spiritual in the work you do. May you know that you are serving a higher purpose in being the door of Unitarian Universalism as lived in our congregation. May you know your encounters are a sacred experience of our interdependence and community. May you know that I am here to guide and support you. May you know you are enough.
We commission you as welcome team members for all who are our guests, seeking the possibility of a spiritual home amongst us.
We place our trust in you, asking you to create a haven of listening and affirmation for guests. We ask you to be the blessing and the grace that helps our guests move into our covenantal faith.
I charge you, as members of the welcome team, to engage in your ministry of welcoming others with the power of love that is the center of our faith, to care for and support one another, to care for your own spiritual path. May you know that your inclusion of visitors is a sacred and a holy work. May you know that you bring hope to those who are seeking. May you know that I am here to guide and support you. And may you know that you are enough.
Will the congregation please join me in blessing our leaders? We, the members and friends of Eliot Chapel, offer our gratitude for and our blessing of your ministry. Your faithful service helps us fulfill the mission of our congregation, to love courageously, to grow spiritually, and to inspire compassionate action. Let's give a round of appreciation for our welcome team greeters and pastoral care associates. Welcome, you may be seated.
Our prayer this morning comes from UU Reverend Scott Taylor. As we gather as a house of stories. As we learn of those who have gone before, the way in front becomes clearer. As we weave together our individual tales into a common story, our loneliness lessens, and the ever-present web of our oneness is revealed. As we listen deeply to each other's difficult stories with tenderness and trust, we descend into the longings and learnings, hopes and fears of the humanity we share. Beneath the wells from which we drink, there is a deeper well that feeds all of us. Come, let us teach each other tales of our thirst. Let us drink from the stories that sustain us all. Let us now enter into a time of silence for the prayers and meditations of our own hearts. Let us hold in our hearts those that we know and love that have been impacted by the fires in Los Angeles. Let us speak the names of all of those that we would hold in care. Amen and blessed be. Please remain seated for our meditative hymn number 123, Spirit of Life, which we will sing together twice.
Spirit of life, come unto
Every week, we give half of our offering to an organization in the community that lives our core values. This month, our shared plate partner is Meacham Park Neighborhood Improvement Association. The MPNIA is a 501(c) public charity whose mission is to help improve the quality of life in historic Meacham Park by connecting neighbors, promoting activities, and fostering civic engagement in this diverse community. You are welcome to donate through the past plate, through the QR code on the screen or on your order of service, or by texting Eliot shared plate and then a dollar amount to 73256, whatever your style. Thank you, and let us be a generous people. Okay, please join me in dedicating this offering with the words printed in your order of service. To the work of the church, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives and these our offerings. Our reading this morning is a reflection from who I think is one of the most radically loving social justice activists of our time. She's a Black, queer, activist, poet, and storyteller, and one of my personal heroes, Adrienne Marie Brown. She writes simply, "All social justice work is science fiction. We are imagining a world free of injustice, a world that doesn't yet exist. I believe that all organizing is science fiction, that we are shaping the future we long for and have not yet experienced. I believe we are in an imagination battle, and almost everything about how we orient towards our bodies is shaped by fearful imaginations. But our radical imagination is a tool for reclaiming our right to shape our lived reality."
Will be a world
I take a pilgrimage of sorts. I pack up my suitcase and I drive to Pere Marquette State Park, where I will spend 3 days with a ministers group called Prairie Group, which has been meeting since 1951. Every minister who's ever served this congregation has been a member of Prairie Group, and now, having had you call me as your lead minister, I get to carry on this illustrious tradition. We choose a theme, 4 ministers write papers and 4 write responses, and we get this long reading list that we have to finish before we gather, which no one does finish, but we all at least try to get a little bit done to look smart enough to be there. And then we do a deep dive. And there's no telling where we'll end up. And of course, being ministers, we do what we love most. We worship together every day, sometimes twice. And why is this so special? Because we spend our lives offering worship to others. It's very rare for us to have worship that we receive. So it's kind of like going to a frozen custard place in July on the hottest day of the year. That's what worship is like for ministers when we actually get to go. Now this fall, our theme was speculative fiction. And we took our direction from Adrienne Marie Brown. All social justice work is science fiction. We are imagining a world free of injustice, a world that doesn't yet exist. And in much of the literature that we read, an apocalypse has happened. And in light of that apocalypse, we witness different people making different choices about really how to stay in a place of hope and love. How do you hold on to your dignity in the ruins? How do you keep loving people? How do you find trust again? How do you feed yourself or stay at a jail? What does it mean to be a family in the ruins of everything? We had no idea when we chose this topic in November 2023 how tender we would be in November 2024. We gathered a week after the general election, which felt kind of apocalyptic. We were fragile, just like you were, tired, angry, fearful. And we came together seeking comfort, reasons for hope, and strategies to resist. It was the perfect time to play with possibilities for a future that we had become afraid of. We read Indigenous and queer writers. We read Afrofuturist writers. According to Yatasha Womack, Afrofuturism is a way of looking at the future and alternate realities through a Black cultural lens. It is a method of self-liberation and self-healing. Now, many of the stories we read didn't presume that the apocalypse was something in the future, or that it was something that, poof, just happened. The apocalypses in these stories had been long forming. For in Afrofuturism, the apocalypse often begins with the theft of their ancestors in Africa. And it has continued since. It shifts and changes, but the apocalypse always is. As long as America is held in the grasp of the legacy of racism and slavery, the apocalypse simply continues. And surviving and thriving demands resiliency, nimbleness, relationship building, courage, humility, and always risk. Always risk. You see, it's important to know and understand that for some of our people in this country, including some of you sitting right in this sanctuary, the election of the former president isn't precipitating a future apocalypse. It is the next manifestation of an apocalypse that has been unfolding for centuries. For Indigenous people, the apocalypse began when European empires saw the Americas as theirs for the taking. And it continued when disease and war decimated the population. And it continued with every land treaty, and it hasn't ended. So what we're seeing is the apocalypse once more gaining strength. And what it's doing now is broadening its impact to those who have had the privilege of thinking the apocalypse is something in the future that we can avoid, by changing something about the present. You see how it's a different perspective? Many of us here have the privilege of thinking of the apocalypse as something in the future. In Unitarian Universalism, especially in our early years, and really about until the 1990s, we had this muscular theology that was of the mind that our sacred duty was to save the world. We had the power to save everything. What we had was a white savior complex. And in the last 30 years, we've come to identify this complex as a manifestation of white supremacy culture. This hyper-individualism which overestimates the power we have and underestimates or denies the power of the larger systems that shape our lives from the minute we take our first breath to the time we take our last. Now, this sounds kind of doom and gloom, doesn't it? When, right? We've been in the apocalypse for a long time. Well, maybe that means nothing's worth anything, right? Maybe we should abandon trying to make the world a better place. But actually, for many of these writers, an infinite apocalypse is a reason for joy and hope. Because if this has been going on a long time, and we're still here, we're still existing, isn't that a cause for a celebration? Doesn't that say that we've done a lot of work and there's no reason to stop now? No reason to stop right now. So let's consider, instead of social justice being this save the world thing, that social justice is a faith practice, and that's what it is in Unitarian Universalism. It is a faith practice. Let's consider that social justice cannot have the goal of a ride into the sunset, where everything is fixed. And neither can we be complacent and think that, well, it's going to hell anyways, right? So just batten down the hatches and wait it out. Committing to social justice is a never-ending journey that invites us, with all our flaws and our weak spots and our doubts and our fears, to be resilient, to be nimble, stubborn, courageous, flexible, and willing to take risks for a future that we dare to imagine. I want to share a story with you, one of the many stories that we read. And this one comes from an anthology called Octavia's Brood, science fiction stories from social justice movements. And it offers a deep dive of what it means to live your truth, to live with joy in an apocalypse that is always reshaping itself. And the future is called, the story is called The Token Superhero by Afrofuturist David F. Walker. And this is just a summary of it, or we would be here for at least an hour. A gene has been discovered, the Kirkwood 24 syndrome gene that gives people superhero powers. All babies are tested for this gene at birth, and Alonzo Raimi has it. He's got the superhero gene. But his father, rather than celebrating, rather than thinking like, wow, my son is going to be a superhero, is worried and he's feeling heavy. You see, he grew up during the Jim Crow time. He remembered the marches, the police, the fire hoses. And while, yes, things were a lot better, he knew that many white Southerners were still waiting for the South to rise. What might happen to Alonzo, he worried, when they discovered his superpower, a black man with superpowers. And he wished and prayed that this could be taken from him and that his son could just have a normal life. Let's look at this through the lens of a continuous apocalypse, right? So Alonzo's dad experienced the apocalypse through Jim Crow. And although it was formally dismantled, it was still dangerous to be black in America. The apocalypse continued because racial hatred could still spill over at any time. So the apocalypse was still chipping away, still stealing opportunities and hopes from black people, sometimes their lives. So the family leaves Mississippi. And Alonzo goes to superhero high school. And he learns to use his power for truth and justice, just like in the comic books. And when he turns 16, he joins the Teen Justice Force. And you see, in Alonzo's world, superheroes have become celebrities. They are commodities. And superhero reality TV is where it is at. So, just like today's reality shows, they were carefully staged and crafted with all the isms of the day, shaping how the superheroes are experienced and understood. So off Alonzo goes, the only black superhero in an all-white superhero cast, and they give him the name Black Fist, which was hideous and insulting, and the costume was even worse. What could they do? What could he do? Alonzo was determined to make the best of it, and to be a great superhero, even with the horrid name and the ugly costume. He would show them. In fact, he was so good that he became the superhero team lead. But then he saw the white members get sponsorships, comic books, endorsements, and merchandise deals. Even though he was the leader, he didn't even get an action figure. He was the token superhero. When he aged out of Teen Justice, he joined the Super Justice Force, and he demanded a new name and a better costume, but it didn't matter. Twice he was attacked by superheroes, thinking he was the villain. He was shot by cops, even though he was the good guy. Luckily, he had bulletproof skin. Alonzo gave up. He quit, got a job, went to college, tried to pass, but he couldn't. When he saw something bad, he just couldn't help but draw on his superpowers. So one day, while he's trying to live this normal life, he was on the subway and a group of punks get on and start terrorizing the passengers, and he's like, all right, I guess I gotta pull it out again. But then a group of black kids got on and took them on and de-escalated the situation. And they were wearing Black Fist t-shirts. And he's like, how could that be? I didn't get any merchandise deal. And he goes to the kids, and he says, hey, where'd you get those shirts? We made them, said one of the girls. And they told him that Black Fist had been the coolest superhero ever because he hadn't gone commercial. He just did the right thing because it was right. He made them feel good about themselves. And they said, we wish he hadn't retired. Alonzo finally understood what it was all about. Not endorsements and merchandise, not the stupid costume and the arrogant name. It was about those kids seeing something in him that made them feel strong. So he returned to the Super Justice Force. He put on the costume. He took back the name. He stopped waiting for endorsements. He bankrolled his own comic and became a community organizer for literacy. And he was loved by the kids because they knew he loved them. They knew he would always do the right thing simply because it was right. And sometimes he still got bitter. He often still got the short end of the stick. And he was especially mad when the Black Fist action figure he ordered came with lips that were bigger than his. How typical. But then he remembered those kids who drew Black Fist on their t-shirts. That's who he was there for. That's the end of the story. So the apocalypse in Walker's story keeps transforming. From white robes and burning crosses to a token superhero wearing a costume that was insulting, being overlooked in favor of the other superheroes. It never ends. But Walker shifts Alonzo's focus. He shows him the path forward. Is his worth determined by endorsements and merchandise? No. rather than wait to be noticed by corporations and newspapers and other viewers, rather than giving them power by caring what they thought, he was going to notice the ones who noticed him, because those kids weren't being noticed either. He and the kids, both rendered invisible by those with systemic power, grew in strength by existing for each other, flourishing more than they had because they existed through each other. The apocalypse didn't start when the former president took office in 2017, did it? It didn't end when he was defeated in 2000, whatever it was. We have always been living through an apocalypse. Climate change, late-stage capitalism, systemic racism, sexism, homophobia, classism, a resource global economy that takes and takes and takes. So in this continuously unfurling apocalypse that many of us are seeing for the first time, who are we called to exist for? What stupid costume are we called to don? And what heroic acts are ours to fulfill so that we can flourish in all the ways we can, and that in community we can flourish and come into existence through each other, even flourishing in ways that we aren't supposed to flourish in this unstable time. We are supposed to be miserable. We are supposed to be hopeless. We are supposed to give our power away. In Unitarian Universalist theology, we ask ourselves, how do we put love at the center? How do we claim and uphold each other's inherent worthiness and dignity? So next Sunday, after the second worship service, we are holding a Solidarity Strategies congregational conversation. This is an informal chance to meet with each other, to exist for each other, to come into existence through each other, and to speak of what we are thinking and feeling and hoping, and to make a commitment that we will do something about what is happening in us and in those around us. How will we use what we have here at Eliot to lessen the harm that is already happening in an ongoing apocalypse that will likely strengthen on January 20th? So we're looking at immigrants. We have a very strong immigration justice ministry and a very strong team who will share what's already happening and explore with you ways to strengthen this vibrant ministry. Can you commit to that? We're looking at LGBTQ rights. Despite the fact that Unitarian Universalists are one of the few denominations that publicly supports transgender and non-binary rights, and despite the fact that Missouri is in the forefront of scapegoating this population, and despite the fact that we have gender-expansive people in this congregation, we do not yet have a ministry. Our presence is needed. Can you commit to this? We're also looking at access to reproductive health. Yes, we had a big win in November, overturning the abortion ban, and many of us helped to make that happen. But as we know, the state is going to fight this with everything they have, and there's no telling what's coming from DC and the Supreme Court. So we need to keep at this. Can this be something you commit to? And although most of our shared plate is given to organizations that address poverty, what would it look like to have boots on the ground? And in all this, racial justice and racial systemic racism is the thread that holds all of this together, because people of color are overrepresented in all these areas and will experience the impact of our strengthening apocalypse disproportionately. We know this. So you can sign up on the bulletin board. There's a QR code in the order of service, probably up on the screen in our newsletter. And because we're meeting around lunchtime, bring something to share. Let us feed each other as we exist through each other and strengthen in each other. So let us commit to the never-ending journey that invites us, with all our flaws and weaknesses, to be nimble, to be resilient, to be stubborn and courageous and willing to take risks for a future that we dare to imagine. May it be so. Amen and blessed be. And I invite you to rise in body or spirit to imagine the freedom that is coming with our closing hymn.
If you are visiting today, thank you for being here. Please join us for coffee hour in Adams Hall right after service, and make sure to take a blue mug so that we know that you're new and can welcome you personally. We also invite you to fill out a guest form on your way out. We have some at both doors, and again, there's also a QR code on your order of service, and that way we can stay in touch with you. We also have an online coffee hour that starts at 1:30 if you feel called to participate in that way. And again, it is a special day of chili and games going on here. So after service, there are games in Adams Hall, and I think some downstairs as well. And the soup and the chili are definitely downstairs. So check that out. Grab a cup of coffee, grab a bowl of soup, and let's have some fun together. Now please join with me in extinguishing our chalice and remain standing for the benediction. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And until you return, may the spirit of life hold you, may love bless you, and may joy find a place in your days. Go in peace.